Hi everyone, happy Monday. Hopefully your week is off to a great start. What we're going to do tonight is we are going to make a card from start to finish featuring a really fun, easy layout. And then I'm going to show you a bunch of variations on that card. So we're going to jump right in and we are going to switch the camera around and get our lights on. A little bit much there. Let's slide the catalogs over. The products that we're going to be using for the card that we're making can be found here in the annual catalog. And then at least one of the samples I show you will also feature products from the mini catalog. Just as a really quick refresher, Stampin' Up's catalog program includes our larger annual catalog that goes from May through April. And then we have two mini catalogs. This one actually has 1 month left of its run. And then we'll be introducing our July to December catalog. So if you don't have catalogs and you live in the US, make sure that you reach out to me. I would love to help you get your hands on these catalogs because they're amazing. So let's go ahead and let's bring our products in here that we're going to be working with tonight. And we're going to be playing with the Starry Sky ink. I am loving this blue. We are going to be looking at the Cottage Rose stamp set. Of course, we need our adhesives. Our new in color iridescent opals or opal rounds. This is the card that we'll be making together. Let me get the paper supplies out. The rest of the adhesive. I just wanted to make sure I had everything. And then we're going to be using the stylish silver cord and then our stylish dies. So set this off to the side here for just a minute. We'll walk you through all of the products. So just as a reminder, this is the card that we're going to be making. And we're going to just make it from start to scratch. So we're going to jump right in and I'll talk a little bit about the products as we go. So when most card makers make a card, they usually start with 8.5 by 11 cardstock. You can also simply start with pre-cut note cards and envelopes. Stampin' Up! Does have some in craft paper as well as in white, and then some that has a print on it, so you can also start that way. But most of us, when we're making a card, start with 8.5 by 11, which means then that you always need a great trimmer. So in this case, I'm going to cut this cardstock. I'm going to start first by cutting it lengthwise, and I'm going to cut it at 4 1/4. So I'm cutting it the long cut. Okay, I cut it on the 8.5 side. That way I'm going to end up with a piece that I need here from this long piece. And then this other one I'm going to turn around and cut at 5 1/2. And that's going to give me my base. My base is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and that's the base of the card. This piece here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put it back in, and I'm going to cut it to 3 inches. Don't get fixated on that 3-inch number, because when you see the variations, you're going to see that really it's about using up the scraps that you have. That's one of the fun things about this layout, is it all just depends on how big your elements are on the top of the card and how much of the underside that you want to show through. Okay, so again, just as a quick refresher from our 8.5 by 11 Starry Sky cardstock, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 for my card base, and then I have the 3 inches by 11 inches for that piece. And then from our basic white, I'm just going to cut this in half, and I can save that for a future card base. And I'm going to trim this down 4 inches, and I'm going to trim it down to 5 1/4. 4 inches by 5 1/4. And now we can actually put our trimmer away. We don't need that anymore. And the reason why I trim this down to 4 inches by 5 1/4, let me get my piece here, is because I want to have a little bit of that Starry Sky showing around it. My favorite is that 1/4 inch border. Some people like a wider border. Some people like just like 1/8 of an inch, a total sliver of a card, right? So some people like it just a tiny, tiny little bit. So I'm going to use this piece of cardstock because I didn't have my grid paper here. And we'll open our ink pad. Anybody ever open their ink pad and put their finger right into the pad? Or am I the only one that does that sometimes, right? I'm gonna take my stamp, I'm gonna put it on my block, and we're gonna ink it up. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create my own background by stamping this image randomly all over this cardstock. Just filling it in with the stamp. So I've created my background just like that. And now that I have this piece kind of mucked up, let's just go ahead and borrow a corner of it. And we're going to stamp the image one more time. You will wash your stamp off with water, and you can do that by using a chamois, or you can simply do that by using, just taking it to a sink and rinsing it, or having some paper towels that you go ahead and wet, and then you just tap your stamp on it till all of the ink comes off of it, and then you just pat it dry. And I am going to fussy cut this out. I'm not going to pull all of the images. And there are some dies that go with this stamp set, but in this case I'm choosing to cut it. We have great snips, and it's got a fairly easy cut. It's not one of those ones that's going to take you hours to do, but I am wanting to do this whole card start to finish for you, and it's something that I'll be doing a lot more of. It's one thing just to show you samples, but it's another thing if we can make that card actually together from start to finish. And in this case, all these little guys here, I'm getting rid of, okay? I'm not gonna fussy cut those. Those are history. And that's one of the things about fussy cutting, is you can choose just how detailed you want to make those cuts and what you want to keep. And if I bring the card back in here, you can see that they were sacrificed, sacrificed for what we were going to make. Let me just get in on these little leaves here, the little points. I was always taught that if you move the project and not the scissors, it makes it easier for you to do that detail cutting. And that's just how I've always done it, is kind of turn that piece versus turning my scissors around, if that makes sense. You'll see me kind of, oh, shoot. Well, talk and stamp, that's okay. We've got glue. We'll put it back together. I'll keep that leaf. Okay, let's put all of that aside. And now let's bring in our card pieces and start to assemble this. So one of the other things that you need is some good adhesive when you're making cards. Glue sticks, we've got liquid glue, we've got tape runners, this snail, they all work great. That long piece that I cut, you're simply going to fold in half and just kind of give it a really, really good crease. Okay, we want it to have a good crease. And we're going to crease it again after we're all done, and you'll understand why. I'm going to put some adhesive on this part. And in this case, I want it centered. So I'm going to set that down, and that's my front flap. Now, ahead of time, through the magic of television and pre-cooking, look at that ink. That was what happened when I was opening the ink pad. So you don't normally get this messy, I promise you. But I used our stylish shape dies, and these dies are amazing, guys. If you haven't taken a look at these new dies, let me get all of the pieces here for you. Some of you saw my video I did on the dies, but what's nice about these dies is you've got all of these great shapes. You've got circles and squares and banners and all kinds of fun things, and they have this beautiful stitched edge. Somebody saw this card and actually wanted to know if we had sewn it, and we hadn't done that. We just had this stitched edge. And what's cool about these dies is that they do mix and match with the dies from the layering circles. So you're going to have that opportunity to play around and to mix and match them with the layering circles. So great dies, and those are the ones that I'm using. They are going to be an amazing staple in your crafting collection. So I'm going to put just a tiny little adhesive right here on the back. It is vellum, but nobody's going to see it because the flower will go over top of it. And we're going to grab some of our dimensionals. I love dimensionals. I just don't ever think you can use enough dimensionals. I think that they're just Just what we all need all the time, right? Just that little extra. And you know, the dimensionals and raising this up just a little bit is not going to add any extra postage to the card. But what it does do is it does add some shadowing and kind of gives the card a little bit of a look of some depth to it. Let me bring this little scrap back in here and let's put a little adhesive on this leaf that I managed to, there we go, see? Just put it right back on and we're good. So far we have that. Then we're gonna take and we're gonna make a bow. And I like to double my twine and my linen threads up, and I like to use it that way to create my bows. That way I kind of get something that has just a little bit more to it. And then I'm gonna go ahead and I will cut that end, and then this one that's this extra loop, we'll cut that. And that's our little loop for right there. We're gonna use glue dots to hold that on. You could also use liquid glue if you wanted to. You think I get messy opening an ink pad? Oh my goodness, watch me with liquid glue. So we've got, so you can see that so far. And then we just want to add some embellishment to the front of the card. These are the In Color Opal Rounds. Look how pretty they are, guys. Aren't they just beautiful? And we're using the ones that look almost clear. And yeah, there we go. Just getting a little tool to scoop these up. And I just started with a larger one, and then I just picked up 2 smaller ones. Okay. Oh yeah, right, Janet. Yes. Okay. It is a Monday, guys. If there could be challenges in the studio and in the office today, I have had them. Let me tell you, I haven't had a Monday like this for a while. So there you go. You've got your 3 dots. Now on the inside, we're going to go ahead and put this circle. And I like to just kind of hold it and eyeball it. And the whole point is to put it behind that so you can't see it from the front. And then that's where you're going to be able to add your greeting. In this case, I went ahead and used a thank you and a punch. I'm going to leave this one blank for right now because I don't need 2 identical thank yous. I will find a reason for using that. But again, we're real simple. We just started with an 8.5 by 11 piece. We gave ourselves a 5.5 by 4.25 card base, which is the Starry Sky. This is 3 inches by 11 because then it folds over the top. So it works out really, really good. So let me go ahead and inspire your creativity to think beyond the box, to think of other ways that you could be using this concept, right? Because it really is just a concept. You can absolutely use those dimensions, but I've got some really fun ideas for you. So let's set that one aside and let's bring in the first one. So same kind of concept. I've got a card base, 5.5 by 4.25, have a little piece of vellum. This is our Hues of Happiness paper that I die cut this quarter rose from the designer Labels Out, backed it with black. This is just a strip of black cardstock. This is 3 3/4, so it's just twice that length. Faith over fear, everything will be okay. And the nice thing about this layout, or the layouts that I'm showing you, is many times when we're making cards, we end up with different quarter pieces, different strips and things like that. And the purpose of that is to use up those quarter sheets and those strips that we've cut off of things. So there's that one. And then see how that pops up a little bit? I told you that scoring was important. The tighter this score is, the better it's going to lay down. And if you look at this one, I put a little bit of Wink of Stella in the opening, and then I did a little bit of Wink of Stella on the torn edge. Okay. Here's another really simple one. Using our Abstract Beauty paper that is in the spring catalog ending soon. We just have our simple little ladybug with the ladybug trail just saying hello. And then inside you have another ladybug and a place for your message. And these two here, if you'll notice, are kind of off center. They're left justified. This one was in the center, okay? So let's keep going. Here's another one. This one I just love, love, love. It uses one of my favorites. And what's on this one is the polka dot die, and then we have the Tahitian Tide. The paper is the perfectly penciled paper with our greeting. And this one, we just kind of really built it all up, added our pearls, wishing you better days. So that's that greeting right there. In this case, I chose to use vellum, okay? It's just a really fun use. You can still see that beautiful paper. That on the horizon paper is absolutely amazing, guys. And the moment I saw this greeting, I knew I wanted to use it with birds and specifically with the heron. So under his wings, you will find refuge. And when I lift this one up, you've got that little square hiding under here. But again, it's just that vellum, okay? So that's that idea for you. This one here uses one of our really cool new dies. This set of dies does this cool kind of cutout for you. And you can use it in any one of the corners. You've got two different prints. In this case, I wanted some of that beautiful Hues of Happiness paper to show through. Wishing you the happiest of birthdays. Die cut some of the flowers. Wishing you the happiest of birthdays because you totally deserve it. And then there's that beautiful paper on the inside. Keeping going, using the fun swimsuit from the Splash. And this one's a little bit different in that we're not showing off any designer paper on the edges like we did with so many of these. Instead, we're just showing off a little bit of cardstock. So we're really just using a strip of 12 by 12 paper and that card base. We cut a window using the stylish dies. We've got our sweet little swimsuit from Sunny Splash, and we paired it here with our artistic dies here. So we've got our little swimsuit, and you really are fabulous. All of you guys most certainly are. So again, just a fun way of using your designer papers. And then the last one, we are headed into graduation season, right? Some more of that beautiful Abstract Beauty paper. Used the square die and the smallest circle for the graduation cap. Created my own little tassel using our gold twine. So we've got that little tassel. And then when you open this one up, there's something really fun inside. There's our little mini envelope. Perfect place to stash some cash for the new grad. And then we've got our great greeting. So lots of ideas to inspire you guys, lots of different layouts and variations, whether you're using vellum, whether you're justifying it to one side, whether you're just using, you know, a 4-inch wide piece of designer paper over your card front. In this case, letting the paper shine through. And this one's different. It's not over the back. It's the same concept, but folded on the front of the card base. Does that make sense? Because I really wanted that inside of that designer paper to show through. So again, playing around, guys, and just tweaking them just a little bit, and you're gonna have some amazing things that you're going to be able to do. So I will be taking individual pictures of these, and they will end up in the catalog photo album. If you go up to media and click on photos and click on albums, that is a place throughout the entire year where I will be placing images of projects that I've created with annual catalog products. So thanks, guys.